Aloha, everybody, and welcome Julie Cuccia-Watts. I said it right.
You did. You said it right. That's okay. Like every teacher I ever had, like mangled it every year, and I wished I had a really plain name like Smith, so people could. But now I like my name.
It's unique. I mean, as someone whose last name is Dailey, everyone mangles that name too.
Really?
Oh yeah, you never know how to spell it. They often call me Bailey instead of Dailey, right? And they never spell it right because I have like all the letters thrown in. Dailey. So, oh, Peter's here. Hi, Peter.
Yeah, he's right in the other room. He's going to be echoing. Oh, okay. Well, you're delayed, remember?
Hi, Gerald. Hi, Aquarius Al, Debbie, and Betsy, and Chris and Louise.
Yay.
And Maria, Lady Knight of Avalon, and Blue Crescent Tarot.
Wow, hello, everyone.
And Robin Freeman. Hi.
Robin.
Welcome, everybody. I'll try and keep up as people pop in, but there's no promises because, I have a feeling I'm going to be enthralled by Julie.
Oh, well, we can keep track of the chat.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's why I have my phone here. So I have the big version. Right?
I have the big
version. With the symbol that Amber at Lavender Moon said. It's the same circle, same portal.
We are really finding that it is the same thing.
Well, and it's so amazing too, because my friend Betsy Palmer, who's here, she also had a conversation with Amber, and they were digging on every single subject, that like same information, same everything. So,
have we finally found our monad or nomad? Nomad? Is that what they call it? Monad. Your group of souls that pledged that they would come in together.
Maybe.
Because, I've been looking for a while.
I've been looking for a long time. But I feel like I have found it in this group too, because, well, with Betsy and I, we get together for our play dates. We're used to get together regularly, but now we squeeze it in when we can. And every time it's just like we're on the same page. We don't even really have to finish sentences with each other.
Yeah, and there's nobody in the group that's just there to kind of feed on what you're doing, because we're all doing something, and it's
exactly
a little different for me. So I really like this group.
Oh, hi, Rochelle. Amethyst Ascensions here.
And you're marvelous. Rochelle, go check out Rochelle's video after this and all the jewelry that she's done. Her beadwork is fantastic.
Speaking of jewelry, I'm wearing this necklace. Gerald, I know you've been wanting this necklace, so.
Hey, you're wearing the black and white. You're wearing black and white too. How did we know?
We're just connected, I guess.
That's a wardrobe memo. That's good.
That's so funny. And it's so funny because I pulled out the shirt, and in the pocket was a receipt from some restaurant we'd gone to probably like 4 years ago.
Oh my God. Well, it's cold here today, so it was definitely sweater weather. I had to put a sweater back on. We were in shirt sleeves for about 3 days, and now we're back to sweaters.
We had a little heat wave, and then it's like winter finally hit. It's like it's been in the 60s at night. I know Hawaii, blah, 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 but like for us, it's cold. If it's 60s at night and 70s during the day, we're freezing.
Well, I understand that. Like when I was in Egypt in April, people were wearing parkas because it was like 60 at night. And they had their parkas on. I was like, man, it's beautiful out here. And they're like, we're so cold. Like, I guess when you're used to 102, try.
Betsy just says, Jonathan Dailey always gets the wardrobe. It's true. I somehow always match my guess. I don't.
My grandchildren do that too. They'll come dressed the same colors as I am. We always
Yeah.
joke about getting the wardrobe memo.
No.
What's your colors today? Where are your colors? Good.
Yeah.
What are we
Yeah.
talking about today?
Today, we are going to have a little chat about the Ancestral Path Tarot, which I guess is digging up old memories for you. Yeah.
Yeah, really. Like, I've been going through my photo albums. It's my new project. It's been
Hmm.
like sorely lacking. And I ended up in 1996 when this was published. That's the page I'm on now. So there was a lot of Ancestral Path coming up in the photograph albums. So I
Wow.
posted some this yesterday.
Obviously, time to come back to the deck, right?
Come back home.
And for me, this deck, I got it because I do a lot of ancestral and past life readings for people, and it just seemed to be very perfect for that work. But what some people don't know is the minor suits are assigned specific cultures, right? So you got the Japanese culture for swords,
Yeah.
the Egyptians for the staves, the I thought it was Celtic, but then I started looking like, oh, it's King Arthur and Camelot, right? Which I was obsessed with as a kid. And then instead of discs, we have sacred circles with the Native Americans. And all four of those cultures are ones that like I studied, not just as a kid, but in college as well. And I want the book. I can't find it for less than like
It's
160.
ridiculous. This is like a $1.50 paperback book, It's
Right?
just a paper.
I saw someone was selling the first edition with the book and the first edition deck and everything. They want $500 for it.
Holy crap. $25. When that's
Wow.
gouging. I would say that's gouging.
Gouging.
I
Agree.
kind of feel like I should just read it like on a YouTube, just read it out loud and bookmark the times, you know?
Right.
I started
Well, I
reading
mean,
a little bit of it to myself, and I started to tear up. It was kind of emotional.
yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I pulled up a few cards for us to talk about, if that's okay.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we'll start with the Egyptians, since that's your current theme, like focus. Right?
It has been.
Has been. So the Five of Staves. Normally, you see five guys fighting.
Right.
Here, you see architects with a blueprint. Is that what I'm saying?
And yeah, I could read you the description and the meaning.
Sure.
Okay, Five of Staves. And I changed that background a little bit because I've been to Egypt and I really didn't see anything that was like in the original picture. So I kind of
Right.
went in and fixed it. I fixed a lot of things when I came back from Egypt because I got to do this deck over in 2016 when I was going through my second Saturn return because I did it during my first Saturn return. So that was very much a Saturn return right back to where you were. Okay, Five of Staves, description. In northern Egypt, actually its southern tip, which encompasses part of Nubia during the dynasty of Ramses II, a group of priestly architects and engineers designed blueprints for a canal needed to bring water to the parched area. Each holds an item emblematic of the stave suit, stave, stylus, T-square, and brush. The temple in the background is recently been completed, carved from the outcropping rock. The road to the entrance is flanked by statues of ewes and rams, Aryan solar symbols, as in the Sphinx carved from the rock. Ramses II commissioned these temples, the most famous being the one in Abu Simbel in Nubia. This was the temple moved in 1966 to make way for the Aswan Dam. Discussion, planning, or the meaning. Discussion, planning, strategies, negotiation, cooperative efforts by diverse groups to achieve a common goal, a unified front against a perceived threat or enemy, a pooling of skills and talents to create something on a grand scale. Conversely, strife, competition, disintegration of goals, struggles, ego conflicts, disharmony, chauvinism, and ultimate failure due to an inability to cooperate.
Mm.
Yeah, that's not Abu Simbel, but what are you going to do?
Wow.
I was a child.
I can see that though. I see everything you were talking about in here.
Yeah, but Abu Simbel actually was at like sort of the gateway to Egypt. And it was sort of a barrier, like a magical gate to intimidate anyone who would want to invade Egypt. So, and Nubia had a tendency to want to take over and
Hmm.
push into Egypt territory. So most of that was sort of a magical gate.
That's beautiful. Which leads us to the next card. I kind of put them in suit order and then some majors at the end here. But
Thank
the
you.
next one that kind of jumped out at me as not what we normally think of for the image is the Seven of Staves here.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is just amazing image.
And remember, this is my learning deck because I was a complete like novice to tarot. I was
Mm.
completely like reading meanings of cards, looking at other cards. I had the tarot, the Encyclopedia of Tarot by Stuart Kaplan, which is like a really volume one had a lot of old decks in it, and I would just look and see what I could see, and then I would just interpret it the way I wanted to, what I saw. So I was
Mhm.
just learning, and I didn't even know how to read cards when I did this. I had to learn to read cards with my photo deck. I took pictures of all the cards and then learned to read from that photo deck. So while I was doing these, I didn't know anything, and so bear with me here.
Oh, no problem.
Discussion. A rainbow-hued initiate chamber is the final testing place of the neophyte, who kneels reverently with arms extended in a ritual pose. A trial is undertaken in this chamber are designed to integrate all experience, represented by the seven rays of the rainbow. The goddess Nut arches over the initiate hall, flanked flanking the path of the initiation are six statues of Egyptian deities representing the guardians of mysteries. Each bears a staff crowned with mystical emblems. The central figure faces the initiate enthroned veiled goddess, holding a crystal scepter, the Seven of Staves. Her light banishes all shadow except that created by the initiate, the implications being that the shadow was confronted in earlier trials. Following the ritual bath and shaved head, the initiate is led into the chamber by a priest and stands at the feet of the goddess Nut. For the past 10 days, he has sustained from meat, bread, wine, sexual intercourse. The initiate consists of a dramatic reenactment of the dismemberment and resurrection of Osiris. At midnight, a shaft of light pierces the celestial initiation chamber, illuminating its secrets of the mysteries of life and death and resurrection. The meaning of the card initiation, induction into the mysteries, solving the riddle of the Sphinx, to will, to know, to dare, to keep silent. The coming together of experience, achieving goals by synthesizing the experiences of the past, accepting the gifts of higher powers.
Wow.
Meaning. So
This card really jumped out at me when I was first going through the deck, and like every time I see it, I get drawn into it strongly.
that's more like the inside of the Abu symbol. There's a lot of statues, big, tall,
Mhm.
going in. What's
Oh,
next?
Candy just popped in. Hi, Candy. So now we're going into swords.
Okay.
And I have the Four of Swords here,
Okay.
which normally we think of as the sword of rest. But here we see her burying the sword in sand, right?
Yeah. Okay. I'll read it. Description. 4 posted swords surround a Chinese plaque extolling Confucian tenets. Confucian dogma appealed to the Japanese because it resonated their custom of ancestor veneration. At the same time, it was riddled with misogyny. Over the millennia of its development, Japan, in schizophrenic spurts, alternatively embraced and shunned the outside world. However, as the nearest land mass, China most heavily influenced the island realm. Dream Woman's truth is not part of that posted reality. Therefore, her sword is buried. She has traveled on the boat shown in the Six of Swords, upholding the samurai values implied in the Five of Swords. Dream Woman buries the ceremonial sword, rejected by rival clan, symbolic of burying her ideas or thoughts. She falls back on her traditional role, following the failure of her efforts through the Seven and Six of Swords. To symbolize this, she wears a dark blue, subdued, everyday kimono. It is the dark night of her soul. An informal Shinto altar is deserted as a group of people venerate the plaque of man-made doctrine. Neither they nor the dream woman notice the stream of light piercing the stormy clouds, a celestial ray of hope in this spiritual wasteland. Meaning, acknowledge that you cannot prevail against greater forces. Release the ideals and goals that cannot be realized. A buried truth is truth lost to you and by extension to all. Alternately, listen to your inner voice. Act upon its message to clear the path ahead. Don't bury good ideas. Bring them out. Manifest them. Don't rely completely on the advice of others or bow to their pressure.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
not rest,
amazing.
but something else.
But it's still very meaningful, and you can see everything that you just mentioned, which helps me read the card better. So,
Yeah, I know. It's like deep stories in these cards, and if you just have the little blurb in the tiny book, it's just not really giving you the whole benefit
this
of
is what I
the deck. I know, it's not really enough, is it?
no, not really. I mean, you get a little bit, but
Yeah,
not like
not the full description.
right.
And I feel like Tracy, when she wrote this book, she really put her heart into it, and it got really bad reviews. But not because the book is bad,
Mhm.
but because Tracy was a critic of decks. And I think that because she had a newsletter called The Winged Chariot back in the day when there was no internet. And, in the 80s, you had newsletters and you had phone calls and you would meet in person. There wasn't any place that
Right.
you could find out about new decks. So she had this newsletter and she was brutal when she would critique decks. And then when our stuff came out, she got blasted by her enemies. And I think it kind of broke her in a way. And she kind of left the tarot scene. And now she kind of secretly goes, to tarot conferences, and I'll meet up with her, but nobody ever knows where she is, and nobody ever knows how to contact her. She'll contact you, kind of a thing. But
Oh,
she
that's
was
so sad.
I know it's really sad because Tracy
Yeah.
was this huge collector. She was she was the reason I'm in tarot. Um, we met rather serendipitously, through a mutual friend, and it was sort of a weird sort of timing thing. I had done a commission for a woman named Terry Principe. I'd done chakra painting for her, and she saw these queens I was painting, and she had just gotten a tarot reading from Tracy, and she said, "Oh, you have to meet this woman I just met." And she said, "I'm gonna have a party, and I'll invite you. Bring these paintings. She's got to see these." So she did that, and that's when Tracy fell in love with these 4 other queens I had done, not the ones from Ancestral Path. I changed my mind. But when she saw those queens, she was like, "Oh, I gotta tell my friend you're at Kaplan about your work because you could get published." And I was nobody from nowhere with a little baby at home and painting pictures for fun. And,
Mhm.
so I owe a lot to her.
Well, it's interesting because the next card I was going to pull out is the Nine of Swords.
Okay.
So,
That's fine.
oh, and I see a few new names. Hello, Antoinette. Hello, Jilly, Little Zen Crone, and hi, Oak Mama. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Okay, 9 of Swords. Description. Dream woman wakes from the nightmare of the 10 of Swords. Her mental anguish is punctuated by this schema of the 9 swords above her head, with the dividing sword aiming at her. The remaining swords form a crisscross pattern in the back of the feudal palace, a portent of an imminent and a complete destruction. The swords have wooden handles. Nonetheless, they are utilized by fighting weapons and tools in feudal Japan. Dream woman, damp, upheavaled hair, anguished expression, and undone kimono betray her distress. The butterflies design in her kimono symbolize the souls of the dead. She knows that her dream is a prophetic warning from the gods and that she must act to prevent its manifestation. Meaning, a prophetic dream changes your perspective on everything, slicing your belief system into bits, being in a critical position to affect events, being overwhelmed by a sudden intuition of danger, acknowledging the accuracy of your insights, especially when they are not pleasant, foreknowledge that demands action,
Wow.
not just stress.
We have a question from Candy here. Oh, wait. Chat jumped. There we go. Are they oil paintings?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
8
Pretty much.
24-inch oil paintings, 80 of them actually, because they
Oh,
cover for the book, or yeah, a cover card and the box design is all oil painting.
wow. It's taken a long time.
I did 15 cards the first year. My son was just crawling around, and I was home with him, so I had time, a little bit of time to paint.
Mhm.
And then when I figured out I might get published or that I would get published, I did 64 paintings in a year.
Oh my gosh.
We
I
watched a lot of Neverending Story. My mom painted in the kitchen.
love that. Speaking of visions,
Okay.
we have the Seven of Cups.
7 of Cups. Yeah, that one was actually
That's
on the box for the first publication. That was kind of an important one.
Oh, wow.
Important enough to be on the box for the first time.
Mhm.
All right. Description. Morgana appears at Stonehenge sharing her Samhain vision of the 7 scrying cups with Arthur. The cup that Arthur instinctively selects first reveals the truth of his bloodline. Arthur's gut-level reaction is to deny the vision. Morgana attempts to reason with him, trying to thread the tale of the cups into a coherent tapestry, using her skills as a priestess and initiatrix. Arthur is spellbound by the web of her mystical enchantments. Like the 7 of Staves and the 7 of Cups card deals with paths of initiation. The intentions of the remaining cups are as potent as the first, but the visionary confirmation of Arthur's spiritual heritage is so overwhelming that he misinterprets the vision of Guinevere and Lancelot in the last cup. Arthur blocks out Morgana's explanation of their karmic bond and interprets the image as being being cuckolded by his wife and best friend, and the first seeds of Camelot's destruction are sown. Meanings: vision, omens, innate initiations that rip the illusionary veil of everyday reality. The unexpected something one is not quite prepared for, the nearly unbelievable, or determination to discover what lies beneath the obvious, to confront the meaning and purpose of one's existence, searching for ways to instill meaning and purpose into all aspects of life. On the other hand, fantasy daydreams unrealistic ideas and notions of wishful thinking.
So I just gotta say this is amazing because knowing that it's an oil painting and that the oil painting has paintings within paintings.
Right.
That's amazing.
Well, I was very much into the whole Holy Blood, Holy Grail, Merovingian kings thing, and I spent probably 7 years diving into that just for fun when I was in my 20s and couldn't afford to do anything. So I would just read and go to the library because it was free and full of information. So that was my entertainment and fun. So I was kind of a nerd.
Yay, nerds.
Yay, nerds. Yeah.
Speaking of Tracy, you made her the fool?
I did make her the fool. Should we read about it? And people really don't like that card. I really get a lot of flack. Why did you do that? I don't like it. But, there
I
were
love
reasons
this fool.
why I did it that way. See, some people, they either love it or they hate it, right?
Right.
Tracy. The Fool. Description. A diviner sits at a round table draped with a purple cloth. The purple is a psychic color, while the pink of the fool's sweater symbolizes pure affection. In preparation for a reading, she holds up the Fool card, the image of herself, symbolizing the idea of infinity. The face-down cards in front of her, on her spread on a silk batik scarf decorated with the 4 tarot queens. The empty tortoise pouch boasts an embroidered pan devil figure. Behind her head, set into the chair, is an oval mirror. The mirror is meant to reflect the seeker. It too is an aspect of infinity and indirect allusion to the fool's number 0. A spiritual design is carved into the back of the chair, outlining the shape of the fool's path. The design is braced by 2 carved jesters. Beneath the jesters hang 3 dolls, one of which is a tarot fool. A contemporary fool in the Ancestral Path Tarot implies a continuity of traditions handed down by ancestors, and brings us back to the task at hand, that is, learning from the wisdom. Julie envisions the reader as one about to step into the void, which, like the path of more traditional fools, the ancestral gift of symbolic tarot images offers us access to non rational paths of wisdom. The model for the Fool is an original creation the Fool doll is an original creation of Mary Ellen Gallagher of San Diego. The Four Queens scarf comes from the fertile imagination of batik artist Evie Terrado. The diviner is a Milwaukee area tarotist and the author of the book Terry C. Hoover. Tracy offered to write my book, and I asked her to write my book at the same time. And I would had questions about the Fool card, and Tracy said to me, "Well, if I can't look in the mirror and see the Fool every morning, then something isn't right." Um, so she also wanted me to paint her portrait on an aside, because that was my main source of income, was painting portraits for people. And
Mm.
so I just kind of was like, "Oh, that's what I'm doing. She's going to be the Fool."
Oh, and Betsy's saying that the mirror reminds her of that lavender moon again.
Oh, lavender moon. She's everywhere.
I only pulled one from the Sacred Circles pile, but I know I felt like a very important one to pull for me anyway, and that's the 3 of Sacred Circles.
Okay.
Just because of there's so many layers to this image, with the clouds being animals in the background.
Yeah, the Menominee creation story is at the beginning of the chapter, and it's a whole
Mhm.
big Winnebago. Actually, it's Winnebago holy song, medicine song, and then I thought it was Menominee, but I guess it's Winnebago. That was a bad memory because the person who wrote it was Menominee. My friend Harold Ketchenego wrote it for me. The 3 of Sacred Circles. Description. The initiate has completed 3 shields that we saw him working on in the 8 of Sacred Circles card. They serve as wards or talismans to protect the initiation lodge during his vision quest, and are decorated with the emblems of the 6-pointed star, bear, and thunderbird. The initiate's cloth turban is wrapped over the bear shield to absorb its power. Clouds above the lodge coalesce in the form of a bear and eagle images. And images form in response to the young initiate's invocations. The great star, home of the bear, shines in the night sky. The apprentice has completed his lessons and mastered his craft. He is now a shield maker, meaning a craft is mastered when the body of the materials and the idea become one. An apt analogy is that if a musician who uses his or her instrument as an extension of the self to create what the mind has been hearing, ethics and values are consonant with one's lifestyle. Work reflects values, balance between work, social, family, and spiritual responsibilities.
Wow.
So he was looking for purpose, and the whole numbered Sacred Circles is about the vision quest.
Right.
And, at the end, in the 2, he actually meets his, can't see it. He meets his spirit guide, the bear. And
Mm-hmm.
figure eight is actually the way that my Native American teacher taught us the the shape between this world and the other world is that between this world, the physical world, and the Antisokanak world comes
Mhm.
together at one little point, and then each world is separate. So it's like a figure eight.
Mhm.
That's how
So
he
you
described it.
see,
Was beautiful with the two of like the two of coins card because there's always a figure
I
eight.
love that card too. So I have a little confession. When I was pulling cards, I always try to have at least 10.
Okay.
First time I went through the deck, I pulled 32 out.
That's
I'm
good.
like, wait, we don't talk about 32 cards.
That
But it just, this is such a powerful deck for me, and I never really always, I don't know. I like the idea of a soul deck, but I never really thought I would find one for me. But if ever I could call a soul deck mine, I think it'd be this one.
that's really sweet.
Hmm.
I like that. Yeah, I
So
wish people could
get
have
into a little bit of heavier cards for a minute.
heavier cards. These
Wow.
are pretty heavy, actually.
I know, but we got death
Oh,
here.
death. Yeah. Death, death, death.
This is an amazing image, and it's like the more you look at it, the more it just kind of like comes out.
Okay. Where are you? Okay. Death. Description. A child fingers the skull of an ancestor discovered during a childlike, innocent exploring discovery expedition. Although sidetracked by the intriguing find, he is unaware that the skull is indeed his quarry, the purpose of his search. Dry leaves are scattered by a, a fey breeze, while brilliant red roses thrive in the fertile burial ground. A dead tree provides sustenance for the mushrooms sprouting from its carcass. The shrouded boatman sits quietly in his boat. The child is oblivious to his presence. The settling sun shines through the black sail, representing a temporary block of consciousness. An owl, messenger of death or great change, soars over the tableau toward the darkness. Cultural images, loss of innocence, followed by discovery of human mortality, is a common theme in myth and literature. The child poking its finger in the empty hole of eye socket of the skull symbolizes an introduction to death as an inanimate, decaying, disintegrating of an outer trapping. In several Native American myths, death eminent is eminent when the owl called one's name. The unobserved boatman is potential reminder that death is a transition rather than an ending. Mythic images of the ferryman are imprinted in many cultures. There are Native American beliefs that the boatman transports the dead to the afterworld. The Greek myth of the boatman Chiron or Charon provides passage to the underworld for the price of 2 coins placed over the eyes of the deceased. Mourning songs of the Greek women over the centuries address Charon as the bringer of death. It is Arthurian Grail legend Arthur is transported to the funeral barge to Avalon, Apple Land, apples being the symbol of immortality, by a mysterious assembly of women. In Egypt myth, the sun god Ra died each evening and underwent a watery journey through the womb of the underworld until his rebirth from the sky mother Nut at dawn. Many funerary customs involve placing corpses in boats filled with earthly possessions. These ship coffins were buried, burned, or set sailing, usually in a westerly direction. Going west is a common euphemism for dying. In most cultures, the realm of the dead is located in the west. Celtic myths spin several variations on the theme of heroic expeditions to islands of paradise in the west. The Egyptian cosmology, Amente, land of the dead, is located in the west. The prophetic 13th trump portrays our deep fear, disintegration of the physical self, a fear in which we invest so exclusively in modern Western culture, elaborate rituals having been devised by all cultures to delay death and perpetuate it when it when it when it occurs. Contemporary culture makes a fetish of delaying, denying death from its youth oriented media messages by embalming and dressing up corpses for display. Meaning, accepting death as a necessary component of every cycle, seeing beyond death to rebirth, clearing away the old to make for the new, risking renewal. Radical transformation, unexpected change, death of a particular phase of one's life, completion of one cycle as a new one unfolds. Conversely, indicate stagnation, stasis, inability to change, lack of development or evolution, excessive grieving over what has been lost, inability to put the past in perspective and embrace the future.
Wow. All that from that little book?
All that from that little book. I know.
Oak Mama has a question here. Let's see. You mentioned that this was your first deck drawn while learning the tarot. Which sources did you use to inspire your artworks?
I had an Aquarius deck, and I had a friend. I had seen a Rider-Waite deck. I had Stuart Kaplan's Encyclopedia of Tarot, Volume 1, because that was what was available. I had Mastering the Tarot by Eden Gray. And there was not a lot out there, back in those days. There's fabulous, Jonathan. You're good.
I have the cat glaring at me just next to the computer.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot out there. There were, feminist decks out there, but there wasn't that much out there.
This deck is just stunning. There is one card that I have issues with, but it's because it's a little bit of a trigger for me.
Okay.
It's the Devil.
Oh, the Devil card. Okay, Devil. Yeah, I've had bad mail on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you really definitely captured that, like the scariness of the devil.
Okay, the Devil. Description. An enraged face, not a devil incarnate, looms over an angry couple engulfed in a storm of epic proportions. Lightning cracks the lurid sky. The face is a manifestation of energy created by that angry and unresolved conflicts taking form from the mass of dark red-tinged clouds. The enraged lovers are chained to each other and to the earth. Their nudity emphasizes that in their anger, they are stripped of their civilized trappings of humanity. The social mask erected by all cultures are, as a survival mechanism, is smashed by the violent eruption of their neglected shadows. The racial difference between the two underlies their different outlooks and misunderstanding of the other's personal rather than conflicts exacerbated by cultural stereotypes of interracial relationships. Julie sees the situation depicted on the card as one of the reason we come back to deal with things we haven't dealt with. Cultural images. The concept of a Christian devil as the repository of all evil is entrenched in Western culture. Every member of the culture, Christian or not, is influenced by its image, just as pervasive in other cultures, however, are demons and demonic influences. Convention creates that take responsibility for evil out of the human arena. The image in the devil trump of the ancestral path points out that evil is a human creation and suggests that humanity must confront its individual and collective dark side to exorcise these devils. The devil image exemplifies the maxim that thoughts are things. The devil is an entity created by the couple's anger. It has an existence nourished by their imbalance, enmity, and unresolved issues. Meaning, karmic ties, unpaid debts, unsolved issues, loss of self to another's will, self punishment, violence, lack of principles, self destruction tendencies, separation or divorce. A more enlightened look at the trump can elicit ideas of release from bondage, throwing off shackles, recognizing the needs of others, overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds, releasing inner devils, harmony of unrecognizable until its opposite is experienced, harmony manifests through resolution of conflicts or dissolution, release of imbalanced relationships. There.
Wow.
Are you less triggered?
Yes, definitely. The next one I pulled out, I know you mentioned in, I think it was when you were chatting with Amber, that the judgment card was an out-of-body experience you had.
Yeah, it was. And
Wow.
I haven't read about this in a really long time. And I remember it happening to me, but I don't know what she wrote about it because I don't remember.
This image is just striking, though.
It's exactly what I felt. It was almost like there was a sound as I was pulled through, like the same place. I could see like boom, 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 the room, the room, the room, the room. Description. In a dream state, a woman rises from her bed through a mystical dimension of color, light, and sound towards a transparent window. Layers of the scene of her sleeping body appear above the bed, indicating the levels through which her dream body has risen. She extends her hand through the window, which reflects her like a mirror. A guardian or spirit guide offers a helping hand on the other side of the window. She has arrived to the point of entering the last dimension and can choose to go back or continue onward. This is perhaps the most intimate image offered by the creator of Ancestral Path. It came to Julie in a dream, and this is my quote. I actually experienced this card, and I came when and what I get from this is that the final judgment is ours, and we go on when we're ready to go on. In my dream, I was sucked through a void, and I could see the layers upon layers, and the place that I came from being smaller and smaller. Yet I could see it in these different layers, and I wanted to go through the window. I could have. And the idea of the reflection came from seeing a dolphin swimming in the ocean and seeing its reflection against the surface of the water. Meaning of
Wow.
the card. Judgment of the self is always by the self. Forgiveness of the self also from the self. The moment to account for how we have used our opportunities, the attraction of the soul to the creator, or the self to the higher self, alternately outer rather than inner judgment, failing challenges, shrinking away from self-knowledge and self-assessment, inability to love or forgive oneself. That's the negative, like
So Peter has been chiming in here. He said
heavy.
this post hanged one, and then the card that here, let me get this up. The card that changed Julie's perception of the symbolism and seemed to give her permission to use her own intuition is the hanged one. It was a turning point for her.
Yeah, it was.
So I pulled out that card just because I wanted everyone to see it, because not everyone has the deck, right? So this is the card that Peter's talking about right here, the hanged one, which is, I think, my favorite hanged one image of all time, I gotta say.
It is a tree of life, hanging upside down from the tree of life.
Yep.
Description. A viable human fetus is suspended in the womb, head down, in the ideal birthing position. The umbilical cord connects to the placenta and forms its tree of life. The fetus is suspended between conception and birth, and it acquires humanness, sentient, and ability to survive outside the womb. It is totally dependent and helpless as its new incarnation develops. Therefore, the fetus is a perfect symbol for voluntary suspension, surrendering to something beyond one's control. The meaning, transition, conception to birth, birth to death, death to rebirth, a period of rest between significant events, a time when action is inadvisable, a time of waiting, rebirth, the changing of life's forces, surrender to inevitable circumstances, involuntary sacrifice, descent to the depths of the self, altered perceptions by looking at things from a different, upside down point of view. Conversely, an indicate boredom, stagnation, impatience, ambivalence, or indecision, trying to force issues or events prematurely, bad timing, unwillingness to make necessary efforts, sacrifices to achieve a goal, and a useless sacrifice.
Wow.
That's the hangman.
Oak Mama says, well, a tie with Real Sky Astrology. Robin says, all her decks make you go within like this. I love that. I have one final card to go over with you, and then I'll probably need to shuffle and do, I guess, a group reading because we're almost at the hour.
Good. The tower.
The final one I have is the tower.
You talked about the tower and you nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
Just based on.
I just wanted to show it because it's just it. I think it's my favorite tower card of all time. I keep saying that about a lot of these cards, but just the layers of history here.
Okay, the tower, constructed in layers of history, aspires to the heavens. A tower so high that its foundation has sunk beneath the weight of time. The vision base of the tower is informed by Neolithic standing stones etched in esoteric symbols. The next layer is Egyptian Sphinx. A red door leads to the tower at the base of the Sphinx. Higher up appear Greek pillars, Roman arches, the stained glass windows of a Gothic cathedral, and a modern glass and steel skyscraper. Against the dark, stormy backdrop, lightning cripples the tower in a preemptive strike of divine wrath. The damage inflicted upon the tower implies that cultures are finite. Their cycles are temporal. Their ancestral wisdom that filters through succeeding cultures and cycles. Their debris is buried under the construction of the next cultural paradigm. The tower is one of Julie's favorite cards. This tower, and this is me quoting, she's quoting me, the tower has gotten so large that we can hardly see where it's come from. We don't know what it's resting on anymore. It is the culture that we know piled up one on top of another until we've gotten so big and so far away from Earth that we just ready to fall. And at the lightning strike represents the power of the universe to knock us off our little pedestals.
Wow. Let's end up picking one of your favorite cards for the last one. I could just keep going. Like I said, that when I first sat down to pull out some cards to talk about, I pulled out 32 cards. I'm like, I can't talk about 32 cards in an hour.
Well, maybe that's why Amber's going to have me on for like 2 months, like once a week for 2 months. And we're going to go through all of it.
I love that.
I think it's a good idea because even I've forgotten what's in this book.
And just for those of you who don't know, this reissued deck is really big. Like, I don't know, almost bigger than a
It's as
Oracle.
big as Mahat and Journey into Egypt. Stuart let me do whatever I wanted. That was the stipulation because he knew I was so mad about the second printing. He said he knew I was upset and he wanted to make it better. And so he let me do whatever I wanted. So I did it the way I wanted to do it originally.
Borderless, right?
Borderless, and the back the way I wanted. This is the first time this back I actually had painted over this picture. I had to use a photograph of the original painting because I didn't have the original painting. So that part is digital because that
was
right. That was like they made me paint over it because they didn't like this.
The simplicity of it.
Yeah,
I don't know, this is more.
First of all, they didn't like it. So publishers get what publishers want. And then later on, artists get what they want.
Right? Once you become a known name, then you get what you want.
Yeah, maybe.
I keep seeing, as I'm shuffling, I keep seeing cards that I just absolutely adore.
The Lover's card kept coming up for me too.
Yeah. Is that
yes
you and Peter?
Yeah.
Because the first time I saw it, I thought, oh, it's Morgana and Arthur.
Yeah, no.
It's Julie and Peter.
Julie and Peter a long time ago, 30 years ago.
I love it. Peter's chiming in. He says the original is smaller. This one's the size of Ma'at, Journey into Egypt, and the Real Sky Astrology.
Yeah.
Now that I know that I can order Ma'at, I need to get that. Well, actually, what I would need to do is sit down with the video you did comparing Ma'at with the Journey into Egypt, because I know I want one of those. I have a feeling I'm going to want both of them, but I'd love to see a side by side. So, you want to do a quick reading for the collective?
Oh, here, let me.
How about we each draw one card?
Or is it for everybody? Is it for everybody?
Well, we only have like a minute and a half till the hour is done.
Are we late?
So,
all right.
No, we just did a lot of like expose about the deck, which is fine. That's
just
okay.
One card. Just one card.
If we each draw one card, then we use those two as the pair for everyone.
I'm just gonna dig into the deck and just pull one. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ah.
4 of Sacred Circles.
4 and 3. 3.
3 of Cups and 4 of Sacred Circles. Wow. Okay. 4 of Sacred Circles. Both of these are all about holding on to things, isn't it?
4 of Sacred Circles is kind of like creating a safe space so that you can connect with spirit. And this one is about like talking it out. Like this is, usually the 3 of Cups is like a celebratory, but this is sort of like all right, let's talk about what's really going on with you two. kind of
Right. Guinevere, Lancelot, and Arthur talking about things.
talking about it, which leads
Awkward.
actually it leads to the two where the couple is reunited, where Arthur and
Right.
Guinevere are reunited, because a lot of this was Arthur's projection in this storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you're reminding me, because I keep forgetting that in this Ancestral Path, the numbers go from 10 to 1, right? Instead of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
As far as the storyline goes.
Yeah, because that seemed to fit better with the meanings of the cards.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just a different way of looking at it. So it's a good reminder that we all have to look. Oh my God, Ken, what are you doing? You're knocking stuff off the table over here. Why are you so pissy? Oh my God. So yeah, I mean, creating sacred space so we can talk through things. Isn't that what we're doing now? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
And that's something that we need to do as a collective on a regular basis, I think.
Yes.
Not just us here, I mean, as a collective on the planet.
Stop thinking the worst of everyone. Let's talk about it.
Let's sit down, let's create a sacred space where everyone's safe, and we can just talk through things.
Yeah. What do we need? What does everybody want?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants a drink.
Everyone needs a drink or a smoke.
Or a drink. Or a smoke.
Either a pipe or a drink. Either one. Whatever relaxes you. Get that, and then let's talk.
Put your cards on the table. Tell your truth. Stop hiding.
Oh my God, is it? Peter just let us know that Lancelot was modeled after Mel Gibson,
What?
And then US made it change it because they were afraid of being sued.
Yeah. And then my friend Thea Bloom, who was married to the guy who wrote The Matrix, met Mel at a party and said, "Mel would have totally loved it if you had put his face in the picture." But I didn't change it back. So
No.
Yeah.
This deck is amazing. So guys, if you ever need a deck specifically for ancestral work or past life readings, I can't say enough about this deck, and just regular readings too. I mean, yes, I personally, even though I'm 6'2", I got small hands, so I gotta shuffle sideways.
I do too. I can't even bend the cards, so I just kind of let them fall together. Just let them fall, and then they shuffle up. They're nice and sturdy, though.
Or you could do Ethany's corner shuffle if you know how to do that.
Yeah. I do everything sideways now since my decks are so big and my hands are not that big.
Right. I have artist hands, so they're good at small dexterous things, but yeah. My husband's fingers are probably like an inch taller than mine.
Yeah.
Oak Mama is wondering if there will be a smaller real sky.
I don't know.
Like a regular tarot size I guess is what she's asking for.
I don't need to work.
Yeah. Just shuffle it sideways.
Shuffle it sideways. Your eyes are gonna go bad, and then you're gonna wish you had a big one.
Right. I love the size of these because
I know. I can't even see the small one without my glasses. Now.
Well, and taking a jewelry class and having to wear the jeweler lenses ruined my eye. I have to wear something that magnifies in order to see anything,
I know. I started, I think I was late 40s or something. My friend was using readers. I said, let me try that. And I was like, oh, these are so nice. And you can really see everything. And then I got dependent on, for close work now, I can't even use computer without it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
Thank
you so much, Julie. This has been amazing.
It's been.
I hope they put out that book again. I think if everyone here writes US Games and requests the book, maybe they will.
I wish they would, because, I don't know. with Stuart is passed away now, so, you know, I
Oh,
don't even know how, if US Games is gonna make it without him because he was kind of the guy. So,
the one, right?
yeah.
Hi, Lady Kafira. You here just in time to say hello and goodbye. But yeah, watch back, especially if you want to get more in-depth knowledge of some of the cards here. And what's going on with you right now? I mean, I know you just had your real sky astrology tarot. Oh my.
The cat. Was that the cat?
That was the cat. She's having conniption fits.
Pay attention.
I have my anti-cat spray.
What's going on with me now? Well, I just started the Real Sky Astrology Facebook group, and we're kind of like opening the dialogue more, so it's not just a fan page and posting, but a place where we can have conversations and questions and talk about tarot every day. And other than
I'm
that,
laughing because Candy said it sounded like I let a demon in. She's a little psycho kitty, I will say that. But as he says, she's always getting pinched by those pranky pixies. They're always pinching her toes, so she's like having a cat fight with herself on a regular basis. It's crazy. Well, thank you, everybody. And just for me, next week, I should have pulled this out sooner. Next week, I'm going to have Lisa Robertson of the Mermaid Tarot come and chat about her Mermaid Tarot. And then she also has, I think, 2 decks in the works right now. So we're going to talk about those too. So thank you again, Julie, if you're listening. And I'll say goodbye to everybody. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week or sooner.
Yeah.
Until then, aloha.